Hi, my name's Nairi and I'm a trigeminal neuralgia sufferer. I first started to have problems around January and it's now September, so a little over sort of 6 months, and I've kind of had a diagnosis as well. And so what I've been doing on my channel is I've been documenting what's been happening to me and my journey, and I've got about 4 or 5 videos on my channel. So it's been about 3 weeks since I did a video. Today I'm going to talk about the effect of reducing medication that I'm on carbamazepine, and the effect of reducing from 600 grams down to 400 grams, and also the situation and the discussion that I had with my dentist, because I've had an update visit to her, and kind of just generally how I'm getting on. I thought it was time for an update. So thank you for subscribers that have subscribed, and for those of you who've been supporting the channel, I really appreciate it. I run other channels on YouTube doing different things. These are always the most difficult videos because this is when I feel the most vulnerable, and nobody wants to feel vulnerable, nobody wants to talk about illness, certainly not me anyway. So I'm in my early 50s and I've had a very active life. I've run my own business and I recently retired anyway, and then various things happened during COVID, and as I say, in January I started to get severe pain around this side of my face, and I went to the dentist, and you can see the story from the beginning if you go back on the videos, but she was the first one to say that she felt I had trigeminal neuralgia and the first one to put me on medication. Now at that time I was in severe pain, as in I couldn't really do anything, I couldn't really eat, I couldn't really talk, and I thought it was down to a particular tooth. So she put me straight on to carbamazepine, which, if you don't know, is generally the first medication that you get put on with trigeminal neuralgia. It's kind of the gold standard. I didn't understand any of that at the time. I just knew that I needed to have something and I needed to have it quick. And I came away and I was told that I could go up to 4 tablets a day, and these were 200-gram tablets. So the chemist told me to start off slowly, and I needed to go up to 3 to be stable, but even then in the early days I still had quite a lot of pain and couldn't really do a lot, but I did notice an immediate difference. So latterly I've been realizing that the pain levels have been reducing. I would say over the last 6 weeks they've been a lot better, and the really good news for me is I've been able to do a little bit more. I have done a couple of day trips with my children, and as long as I rest the next day, I've kind of coped with that. So I decided that I would come down to two tablets, which is 400 grams. I was told by the dentist in the early days that she trusted me to kind of work out my own body and how I was doing, and so it was, fine to increase to 4 or drop if I felt I could. Yeah, so I decided about 4 weeks ago to give it a try, and it really happened because I wasn't in a lot of pain that day, and I actually forgot to take one of my tablets and I felt okay on that. So I decided very gradually to reduce down to the 2. I'm not sure now whether it affected me in any way or not, but I would say that throughout the whole situation, from the beginning of having this illness, I've been very up and down in mood and very emotional, and that could be the medication, it could be just the fact that I don't want to live with this disease. So I think I did notice a change in mood. I think I did notice that perhaps I was a little bit more vulnerable again and emotional, and it might have been because I didn't have as much of the tablet in my bloodstream. I'm not too sure, but anyway, I reduced down to the 2 tablets and didn't notice an increase in pain really at all, and I felt like I could do okay on the 2, and so I would take one sort of shortly after I got out of bed and then later in the evening to kind of space it out okay, and I was coping fine on that. So me being me, I'm like, okay, so what's the next stage for me? I'm not in too much pain. I still always have some pain, so I'm not in too much pain, and I've managed to do a little bit more around the house and do a few more trips, and so life is good. So I normally been quite active in the church, and don't switch off if you're not a church goer, because this is not all about church. It's about trying to get across to you kind of, the struggles I'm having. And I was always running a Sunday morning group for little children, would take them down to the creche and would have different helpers with me, and also a toddler group. Well, I'd already decided the toddler group was a no-go because of bending and lifting equipment and just the sheer physicality of it. But I offered again recently this Sunday to have a go at doing the younger group, and I was quite excited about it because it felt like maybe life was getting back to normal again, and I had someone that was going to be my good second support. So we had to set up the room and get it ready because we haven't run it since COVID anyway, and so we had all that to do. I did that with my husband, found that really tiring and really stressful, which worried me, but I didn't kind of make too much of it. I just thought maybe I was having a bit of a bad day. Did notice an increase in pain, but thought, okay, well, we have been moving equipment around and doing more, so kind of put that to one side. So on Sunday we ran the group, and we actually had quite a few children, and I just didn't enjoy it. It's hard to put into words how I felt. I love young children. Young children's been my career and my life. I love young children, and yet my enthusiasm for it was not there, and it was very concerning for me. And there was lots of things really. I feel like even though my pain levels are better, there's still that fog, and there's still that anxiety and that vulnerability which wasn't there before I had trigeminal neuralgia. And I came away from it and kind of mulled on it for the whole day. I had to rest for quite a lot of the day, and I also have not been sleeping great, and I think that is because of the reduction in the meds, or it could be that thinking that I'm trying to get back to normal, but am I ready for it? And so I wanted to share this with you because actually I really got stressed over this whole situation, and I realised that whether I have got reduced pain levels or not does not necessarily mean I can resume my normal lifestyle stuff, even some of it in some cases. And I've really struggled with that. Now in some of my other videos I say how much I struggled with just not being able to take the children out or be out with the children, but I've managed to do a bit more of that. But this was a bit more physical. It was young children, it's interacting with them, making sure they're safe, giving people directions. It was just all too much, and I got really upset about it with my husband, but we discussed it, and I've come to the conclusion that I just cannot resume those things that I did before, and that's just something that I have to accept. And if you're struggling with this disease, it might be something that you have to accept. You may go completely into remission on medication, and in 6 months time again I might be completely in remission and think, oh yeah, I could definitely run that group. But right now as it stands, the level of stress and anxiety around it is just way too much for me, and it's really hard for me to accept that, but I wanted to share that with you. Now moving on to my visit to the dentist. So bearing in mind this is a really experienced dentist and someone that I really trust, because she was the first one to point out to me that she felt I had something else going on, not a bad tooth. So I went to see her, and I've noticed, again, I've said it in my other videos, that whenever I see a professional, we start talking about trigeminal neuralgia and discussing the future, I tend to have a dip afterward. I tend to be quite down afterward. This was no exception really. So we discussed how I was feeling, pain levels. We discussed how long it would take for me to get into neurology, because this referral went in a few months ago and I'm still waiting, and she said she couldn't really tell me. And she did lots of examination gently around, because you may be able to see on the camera, but I have a face drop where on the side where I have this problem, and I talked to her about that, and she never says why that is, but she wanted to examine and check for lumps and bumps, she said, which is not a nice thing to have said to you. I've already had an MRI, it didn't show anything, but she wanted to check that. She also wanted to do x-rays on my teeth. Couldn't see any problems with my teeth, as that's been revealed before. And then we were talking about the fact that this side, my teeth are problematic, because originally I had a wisdom tooth taken out, but there's one tooth that's been filled several times. And I was talking to her about what I'm going to do around this, if it needs to be, something needs to be done around it. Because normally I have all my work done awake. Even the embedded wisdom tooth, I chose to have it done awake, because I'm not that fearful or phobic around dentists, even though my teeth aren't great. So she said, oh no, you need to go into hospital and you need to be knocked out for it. And I'm like, okay. And then she said, not because of you tolerating the tooth being taken out, she said, but the pain you might go through afterward. And it just kind of brings it all back to you that you are dealing with something quite massive in your life, and sometimes you can forget that, and other times you can't forget that. And then we were talking around the fact that I'd said to her about, I presume that I can't have Botox because the MRI didn't reveal where the compression was. And she said, yes, that's right, you can't have Botox. And because they don't know where the problem is for me, obviously my treatment is going to be limited to medication at the moment until a neurologist takes a look, perhaps. And then she said, I think they feel that you have several problems with the nerves, several issues, not just the one. So it's just like, it just brings it back to you what you're dealing with, and it's sobering when you hear these things. So my video today is like a mixture of good and bad. You'll look back on my videos and you'll see some that are more positive, some that are really negative, some where I cry, some where I've just come out of a flare-up, and I think this one is somewhere in between. I'm really happy that I've reduced the medication, because it means that I've got the scope to go higher if I need to. I'm really happy that I've had a few days out with the boys and we've done more together as a family, and I've not had to just back off from that. But obviously the not being able to cope with that Sunday morning group and hearing some of the things from the dentist is still a reminder of what I'm dealing with. And so today I've just taken a bit of a chill pill. I've just kind of relaxed a bit and just accepted that. And I'm very lucky that I have a very supportive husband to help me to do that. I hope this video helps you. If it does, please subscribe. It's not that my journey will be your journey. It won't be. It will be different, but it is that you can hear my experiences, and that just might be a comfort to you. So thank you for watching. My name is Nairi, and this is my trigeminal neuralgia story.